Send
Well,
them
not
on.
live, but we're gonna be available for that. Yes, sir.
Sorry for just a minute. I'll sign this and hand it on.
Time to call this meeting to order. Looking around, seeing no one here, we're going to dispense with item number 2, which is the public comment section. We are going to go to item number 3. We've had the opportunity to review the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? And if there are not, I'll ask for a motion and a second for their approval.
Move we approve the minutes.
Second. We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right, let's move on to item number 4, which is the vouchers and their approval. Again, we've all had this information made available for us. I'm sure that we've reviewed that, and I'd like at this time to ask if there are any questions. Hearing none, I'll ask for approval.
So moved.
Motion and second.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by like sign. All right, let's move on then to item number 5, which is a review and the approval of monthly reports for September. And we'll call on Mr. Fagan at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you're looking at here is the summary for through September of 2015. You see, for the month of September in the electric department, we had a $6,000 loss in net income, but I forecasted that. I actually forecasted something like $30,000 loss. You see, last year we were $37,000, so that wasn't unexpected because you got low sales in the month of September. And if you look way over here to the right in this column, I'm kind of highlighting right here the difference column. Anytime you see a negative, that means kind of it's coming out of your pocket. You see a positive, it's going into your pocket. So if you look at the department for year to date, we're 81,000 ahead of the forecast. Expenses are right on. Operating maintenance expenses are right on what we forecasted. But the difference is our margin has done real well this year so far. So that's about that's your difference right there. So you've spent less on power cost, even though you've made less on the revenue compared to the forecast. It's not less and less, but it's compared to the forecast. So that nets out to about $90,000 right there. And that's where your big difference is. That's why you're ahead of the forecast. In the water department, for the month, we made $88,000. What the big thing here is this $51,000 contribution in aid, and that is Duraline out in Carden Farm made a contribution to some pump station upgrades. Is that correct, Dan?
That's correct.
And so anytime they make a contribution, which we never know exactly when those are going to roll around, so I didn't forecast for those. But they asked for that, and Dan's done that, and they're paying for that. So that's why you have such a big gap. If you remember last month, that $35,000 was the apartment complex going in up here up by Anderson County High School. That's right, tap fees. So the water and sewer department's doing well. Both departments are doing well. Both are ahead of the forecast. And that's all I have unless you have any specific questions.
What's the reason that we did better than expected on the difference between what we pay for power and what we sell power for? Is that managing the peak, or?
I'll give Ernie credit for that. I'll say that made a difference. You know, it's these rates are so difficult to project what it's going to do. You know, and
Station of peak was $42,000 for this month. You know, so if we're looking at part of the difference, that gets you pretty close to it. My question would be why you were so far off on the operating and maintenance expense.
Yeah, it was terrible, $315.
At $4.6 million, could you not get closer than that?
At least it was to the good.
That's a good point.
questions that anyone has for Mr. Fagan? If not, I'll ask for a motion and second for the approval of the monthly reports for the month of September.
Make a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right, let's move right on now to item number 6, which is our project status report. And as usual, we'll start with Mr. Bowles for the electric.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you is your project status report for the electric department. As you see that we have completed the Pine Ridge Road upgrade. That was done with our own forces and done on schedule. Our workforce is currently working here across the street on Eagle Bend Drive, as well as the project on Blockhouse Valley. Both of those are in the early stages, and next week we'll be holding a pre-construction conference with our contractor, Service Electric, in connection with the replacement of the 209 designated bad poles for this fiscal year. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
That 209 bad poles, I'm sure, it's probably been on another report. Is that about average?
It's about average for what we do. We make a contribution every year.
Right.
We don't, because of the inspections, they don't inspect all 40,000 poles every year. So it's kind of like eating the elephant, a bite at a time.
Right.
So the bad poles are running about 3 to 5% of the number inspected.
Okay.
And typically, and it depends upon what kinds of poles we're going to be replacing. Last year, it was a lot fewer than this, but they were transmission line poles, and we were replacing them with the big steel.
Stuff right out here.
Yes, yes. And these are pretty much all wood poles, so we got to do more.
Any other questions? All right.
Well, I do, on the Blockhouse Valley one, I got asked this question when your electric crew hit the water line and had Dan's crew out all day and repairing and flushing and all that. Who pays for that? And I'm like, well, we're one utility company.
No, we do have to separate that, so there's a charge, goes to a work order, and there's a charge for labor, material cost.
I told them we balance it between the water and electric, so I
That's
guess
right.
my answer was correct, so.
Good job.
Yeah, a lot of them on David Road wasn't happy, My wife wasn't happy though, let me make sure I clarify that too, so. But it's been a challenge for her driving up and down David Road, or Blockhouse with the crews, cause she goes out every day to pick her grandson up. They've done a good job, but it's a narrow road. I'm surprised nobody's got hurt. I'll just tell you, it's some tricky spots, so they're about through with it, hopefully.
Oh,
Cutting of the trees, so all the trees.
Oh,
are down that are
no.
down.
Well, they're finished around that first area that we've been talking about, but no, they're not finished for the course of the project.
How far out's it going?
It goes actually all the way to the old dump area.
Yeah, okay.
Turns left, and like you're going to go to the old Jake Butcher
About
area.
3.2 miles, isn't it?
The total elapsed
About
is
3.25
3.2,
miles,
but
I
it goes another maybe half mile towards Emery Road,
Okay.
towards Edgemore.
You can bypass most of that, or about all of it right now, cut over to the elementary
Bridgeview.
school.
Go where? Do what?
Go to the elementary school, cut over to the lake there, and miss all of the construction stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, she'll cut and go back around, go Ridgeview and
Okay,
back
wow.
around. Yep. It's just, she forgets about it and then, then she gotta
You
kinda.
have to stop and wait.
dodge. Well, they don't make them wait very often. It goes quick, but they put the cones in it's a tight fit. Let me just put it that way. And then when you get a school bus come up through there, it's a tight fit. So they've done good. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's a dangerous area right through there with those heavy trucks and trying to get everybody through it.
I tell the men, and just in the last safety meeting we had, I reminded the whole workforce that the highest probability, in my opinion, of an accident around here is not the product that we deal with, even though that product is a hazardous product, it can be worked safely. It's the traffic.
Absolutely.
And to be ever mindful of that and take time to set up that work zone properly, which they've all been trained to do. So I'm glad to hear that you think it's moving smoothly.
I was rubbernecking going through there, trying to see where the Beatties lived, see where their property was.
The danger of transportation,
Yeah.
you know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's gonna take but a minute, because we haven't done anything on this yet. We're still finishing up water projects, water system projects. We push the sewer projects into the winter because we don't worry about it freezing when we dig it up. So, matter of fact, I hope sometimes it does freeze while we're working on it, but we'll do the work with. But we haven't done anything on this. Hopefully, we've ordered a lot of equipment. Hopefully, next month we'll have a report to update.
Sounds good. Okay, I know everybody's had a chance to look at closing reports. Any questions on that? If not, then let's move on, pardon me, to item number 7, which is approval of purchase orders. And we've got one here with Ray Varner. I still want to say Ray Varner, I'm sorry.
Ray Viles is what you want to say. I
Ray
know.
Viles, it's Ray Varner.
These are two water department trucks that were in the budget. Low bidder is the Ray Varner Ford. Dan will outfit them with all the necessary equipment. I think one's going to have what we call a Jimmy hoist on there. So
We'll put service bodies on this.
and the bodies.
Cabin.
So these are two F-350s from Ray Varner.
They're proud of them Dodges, aren't they?
They are.
Keep trying to push them in, but can't compete.
Why would you do that? Maybe a Dodge fan, I don't know.
$6,600.
We're not.
Okay. Any questions, gentlemen? If not, we do need a motion, and we need a second for the approval to purchase these two vehicles from, not Ray Viles, but Ray Varner Ford.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. All right. Greg,
Mr. Chairman,
item number 8.
for the audits, I'd like to
You want to defer to
ask
Mr.
Dudley to
Fagan?
speak to
All right.
those,
I was going to ask you on.
because I can tell you that they represent exactly what you saw at June 30th. Again, we have no adjustments, no comments, so we're very, very pleased with that. So after that, Dudley, I don't know what else you can say.
As Greg said, once again, and we're very proud of this, we have what you call clean audits, no adjustments, no exceptions.
Since 1977.
And that doesn't mean that we're perfect. That means that we don't make big mistakes. So,
Good point.
so we're very proud of that, and that goes all the way down to all my people that work under me. And they do a great job, and we reconcile all the accounts every month, just like an auditor would, to make sure that what we provide you monthly is a fair representation of where this company stands. And then at the end of the year, when you match these numbers of net income, they'll match to your June statements. So if you were to look at these numbers here against what I gave you back in June, for June 30th, they would match. Now, they group things a little bit different here and there, but when you get down to the bottom line, they match. So it's something we're very proud of and continue to do. They add more and more notes in here, and I'll be glad to discuss any that you want. But I want to point one thing out here that I think is very important to this company. If you remember, the water department is debt-free, which is unheard of in the utility business for a water company to be debt-free and have the rates that we have. Electric department will be out of debt in 2023. You know, you got $9 million in debt, and you got over $100 million in net plant or gross plant. That's a great ratio, and to be debt-free in 2023, I used to think that was a long ways off. It's not that far away now. You know, we're gonna blink and it's gonna be 2023. So that's something to be very proud of too.
Repeat that again. I was folding, I was dog-earing my page 29 here, so what was that ratio again you talked about?
The ratio of our debt to our assets.
Okay.
You know, and when you got $9 million in debt and you got over $100 million in plant, you know, that's really a good thing. I wish personally my
Right.
ratio was that good.
Right.
You know. And the water department, totally debt free. That's just unheard of in this business. You know, I know Greg's talked about some of their other local utilities and the tremendous amount of debt they have and continue to compile to get their infrastructure in place. So something to be very proud of.
Which one's carrying the building? So we'll be debt-free with our building upgrades and everything
Oh,
by
yes, sir.
that time?
Yes, sir.
So
That's
the
electric.
That's electric side. Okay.
There was a big adjustment, I guess, accounting change affected the pension.
Yes.
Is that expected or?
Yes.
We talked about that. That was the booking, that was FASB 67 and 68. And it was like when we booked sick leave. So it didn't really change anything other than the fact that it becomes a balance sheet item. It's a one-time adjustment. So well, of course, we talked about that at the time too. The government says that they want that to show up on the statements in the balance sheet. So everybody has to book that, where before it was a
So
non-bookable.
it's a liability, I guess,
Always, oh yeah, it would be a liability.
because it's
If you stop today, if your business went out today, then you would have to meet every liability
that
promise.
city had to do that too, if I
Sure,
remember right.
everyone has
That's
to
what
do
I thought.
that.
Okay.
In the old days, it was just a footnote. By
Right.
the old days, I mean last year. You know, it was a footnote in the statements, and now they make you put it on the balance sheet.
When sick leave and vacation was also a footnote at one time, now you have to book that also.
So there's a dollar value tied to that employee's hours that they've booked,
That's correct.
and then that dollar value is now put on the balance sheet.
That's correct.
And that's really all I have to report on, unless you want to have any specific questions, because we reported on all those things throughout the year.
Now, it was a complimentary audit, it seemed to me. I read through it this afternoon.
When I came here, 5 pages. The audit was 5 pages. And it cost a lot less. We were paying $1,500 for an audit when I first came here. Times have changed.
Now, before we approve that, we're also going to review the water.
No.
Ask if there's any questions in regard to the water department as well.
Right. And it's the same situation.
Because I was gonna say, I know it all matches exactly the same. The
Exactly.
differentials relative to, that Dudley spoke to like the pension and vacation time and so on and so forth, all those are the same. But I didn't know if anybody had anything specifically that in their review, they had any questions on. So that's why I asked that in that manner. All right, if that's the case, then let's have a motion and a second for approval of some excellent audits.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor of approval of the audits for the electric and water, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let's move on to item number 10, which is the recommendation for our tax equivalent payment.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to talk about this as a water loss audit in number 9, if that's
okay.
all right.
Sure.
Some of y'all may be familiar with this. We have to, by state requirements and to be in the compliance with that, they enacted in 2007 that all public water systems within the state of Tennessee be required to include in their annual fiscal audit, which is what we just went through here, which was part of this, the averages for unaccounted water and the loss percentages in a manner prescribed by the state. Now, you may remember I sent you, after our last board meeting, there was in the paper some state-imposed significant increases concerning our friends up in Rocky Top. That's the state's prerogative at any time that they feel it's necessary for them to come in if there are problems within the system. A lot of that we see with wastewater. That's where a lot of our local utilities, we know a lot of utilities that have been fined and then they're under state order or compliance or negotiated agreement. And also this water audit would invoke state action if certain criteria aren't met. So in 2013, Tennessee required that all utilities use a methodology that they prescribe, and it's derived from the American Water Works Association and the International Water Association, IWA. These new auditing standards, they use terminology such as authorized consumption, real loss, apparent loss, and non-revenue loss. And to understand that, we know of just 5 or 6 states that are using that have embraced that across the country. We think it's a great idea because it's standardized. How are you doing? What is your water loss? How do you compare with others? What is considered good? What is considered marginal? And what is considered when you have to take action to do that? Texas is doing that, what they call the Delaware River Basin, which is New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and New York. Georgia has embraced that. California has embraced that. And Tennessee has embraced that, which affects us. The water audit method is effective because it features sound, consistent definitions. Everybody falls under what does this mean, so there is no wiggle room. The format and the balance of this method I'm going to give you by table. It also features a set of rational performance indicators that evaluate utility systems based on specific attributes that produce data which allows performance comparisons and benchmarking of best practices. This table gives us the definitions. So what does the system input volume, what's authorized consumption, what are considered water losses, apparent losses, real losses, revenue for water, and non-revenue water. Real loss is when water is lost in the distribution system. And what we do is we apply production costs to that. That's from leaks and breaks and firefighting. That's right.
Firefighting comes, I was going to ask that question. It comes
Yes,
under
sir.
what?
That comes under, well, that's part of the authorized consumption, but that comes under the real loss.
Okay.
You see. But it's authorized because we allow it. The retail, and again, that is production cost. The retail is associated with costs that are apparent loss because it has the opportunity to be metered. And that's when we do have a problem with the meter or theft. You say, should have metered it, could have metered it, didn't meter it, we lost it. So then retail costs are associated with that instead of production cost, like a leak, because that never had the opportunity to be metered. With me? This is a nice little table that shows you when you get down into the red or you get down into the orange, those are the things you want to look at a lot as to what water losses is, apparent loss and real losses, and it gives you some ideas of what that is. Leakage on service lines, for example. Non-revenue water is what that's called. And then the performance, which is a function and a calculation, everybody has to do it the same way. And you see unavoidable annual real losses, UARL. I mean, there's a formula associated with that that's got the length of the water mains in terms of miles, the number of customers, you know, the total length of the private line. It's a calculation in order to get there. So it's a process. We work through this, and we do this calculation, and we have to submit that. Now, our water audit data is 84 out of 100, and our non-revenue water as a percent of cost of operations is 3.3%. Now, the state says that if you don't complete this, we're coming in. It also says, as of January 1st, 2013, through December 31st, 2014, that if your validity score is 65 or less, or the non-revenue water as a percent by cost of operation is greater than 30%, then you're going to trigger that state coming in and trying to help you work your system in order to meet these minimum requirements. Our validity score is 84, which is a lot more than 65, and our non-revenue water is 3.3%, which is a lot less than 30. So as of January 1st, 2015, through next year, we have to have a validity score of above 70 and a non-revenue water above 25. Then in 2017, it goes to 75 and 20. And by 2019 through 2020, it needs to be 80 and 20. Well, you can see we're already at a validity score in the 80s. We're above what we need to be by 2020. At 3.3%, we're below what we need to be, significantly below what we need to be by 2020. So we've already met up through 2020, and I don't know that they'll tighten up any more than that. But that's the benchmark that they gave us, and again, we are there very easily.
When do the states who are not on this now have to?
Well, it's a voluntary thing, as it is right now, and you would see the states that you would think would be most effective, like California,
where they got water problems already.
That's right, that they would embrace that, and they have. I would think that in time, everyone will do this. Now, water loss is not, we haven't lost it to the space aliens, you know. People say
back in the river
it
somewhere.
gets back in the river. Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's an asset that's gone forever, but it does give you an indication. There's always a delicate balance between how should we spend resources to curb leakage and water loss and detection of theft and breaks and all of that. We have to balance that. We spend $30-some thousand as we go around testing for breaks. Now, in order to justify that, we have to fix more than $30,000 worth of breaks. Our system has to benefit from that. You see, and that's a delicate balance to do because our production cost is so low because we have a great water resource. So we try to balance what makes the most sense to have a system so tight that you have relatively no loss and pay dearly for that, or to go ahead and let the galvanize weep, as they say, and not put those dollars in order to facilitate a lower water loss. We balance that out, and we balance it out very well. And this audit validates the job that we're doing. If we're 3.3%, and we need to be under that mark, we're just doing really well with that. And that's the number I think that we need to concentrate on. And I'm going to start putting that on your monthly report, so you'll have that, because that's the real gauge of the number that's most, I think, telling of how we're doing in terms of water and water loss.
On the reports we get now, when it says water loss, doesn't it show like 30%?
Well, it can, and it showed 17% too. The problem with doing that is that takes metered for a period of time, and we have to match meters through our system to try to match it to our production meter, and then value out what we know are apparent losses and authorized losses through the fire hydrant, through purging of lines, because we do that in order to keep what we call the water sweet, where there's a radial and a stop. We go down to the end there and we blow it off in order to keep water sweet, so we have a quality that we provide our customer. That's why that number can be deceiving, you see. So this number is the most accurate because I think it gives you the losses as compared to operations with production and everything else. Dan, did you want to say something?
Just wanted to mention that there is no one point in time that we could compare the production meter of the plant and the meters, because we read the meters all through the month. It's not
Right.
like electric, you take a snapshot electronically. We actually go out and physically read them. So you're taking a water plant meter read once a month, and then you're reading all the meters in the system throughout the month. It's really hard to compare. So when you look at those numbers, they're going to bounce around. But these numbers are representative of what it cost us to actually have.
And you're gonna start putting
That
this-
number, that number, because I think it's most representative. You know, this is the number that we've got to tie to. This is what the state holds us accountable for.
And
That I just wanted to share with you, and I'll do that every year because we have to do this every year. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, on that.
any other questions? I know we've had a couple.
I'd like to get a copy of some of that or some talking points to take to council at our
That's
meeting.
great. That's great.
You mentioned Lake City there. Have you had a chance to meet with Andrew Howard yet?
No, sir. No one's called.
He's not called?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll follow up. He has talked with me, and I told him, he said he's talking, supposed to be meeting with you. He's looking forward to that. So,
I'm looking forward to that, but I haven't had any conversation with him.
okay. Seems to be a rock and a hard place, so let's hope we may.
There is no easy out for these folks. I tell you, there's no policy that they can put in place. There's no rate that they can realistically put in place that is going to make this thing go away.
I've tried to share with him, it's a lose-lose for him right now, no matter what he does. So I'll check with him though, to see if he's gonna get a hold of you.
Nothing else? We'll move on to item number 10. I apologize for skipping that. I'd checked that
Well,
off.
the
I kinda go by
audits. Well, it's audits too, Gary. I think I probably should have used another word.
That's quite all right. Let's move on, like I say, to item number 10, which is a recommendation on the tax equivalents
That's done.
to the various agencies. We'll lump in all of our counties and towns as agencies.
Me to roll? Okay. What you got before you here is the tax equivalents comparison this year versus last year. And the way this works is we do a calculation in-house based on our plant and income. There's a lot of things that go into it. The local tax rates, and the depreciation in each tax district, but it really boils down to 55% of the net plant plus 4% of the net income for the past 3 years, average. And there's a calculation we do. I do it. I send it to TVA. TVA goes through. They validate that everything looks correct and give us the go on it. And as you can see, this year there's an total increase of $155,301.71, 7.89%, which is higher than I forecasted. But most of these cities and counties had tweaked their property tax rate a little bit, and that impacts us. But the city of Clinton, as you see, really gains with the $109,000 increase to them, and the bulk bulk of that goes to them because we are a part of the city of Clinton. And that's the way the formula works. And we recommend that we pay this because it is what it is. You know?
And it's the maximum, as Greg has pointed out in the past, too. I think that's worth mentioning.
It's the maximum, and if
Yeah, maybe
everybody
that'll help-
agrees to take
Maybe
less,
that'll
we
help
can pay
Jim down there
less.
too, because they've asked that in times past,
The,
and it is the max.
I think it's fair, and I think the maximum is fair. You know, we got $2.1 million coming out, and this is all electric revenue. $2.1 million. You know, the city is right at 1.6, give or take. And I think that that's appropriate, that there's so many things that we'd like to do for the city that we can't, you know, by law, we can't participate in, that years ago it was different. And this somehow can offset a little of that, what you would think of local participation in your community. You know, we're my church 175-year anniversary, and they wanted us to use a bucket truck to take a picture, you know, which would have been nice, and everybody out there, and I couldn't do that because that we can't by law use material or facilities that don't benefit specifically our ratepayers. So this way with the city, I'm glad to pay it, and I think it is fair.
Is this a voluntary thing, and do all utilities or distributors do
The
this?
state provides an equivalency for all county, all taxing entities, and they design a formula that's the maximum. There are some utilities that I know of where the city doesn't require them to pay a maximum, so they give them a reduced amount, and that then affects the utility rates. You know, obviously, this is $2.1 million coming off our bottom line, dollar for dollar. So we have to make that up in revenues. That's part of our operating cost. They do that, but I think that they tax the utility in other ways. I think this is the cleanest way to do it. I think that we do have a responsibility as a corporate citizen within the confines of the municipality, and within the confines of Anderson County and Campbell County and Knox County and Morgan County, Union County, Rome County, and the cities of Norris, Lake City or Rocky Top, and Oliver Springs. We've got a responsibility, and we have got plant within those taxing districts, and if we weren't here, they could have a tax-paying organization or industry here, and so this is a way to try to balance that out. With our plant all in these taxing districts, we make a contribution towards the loss of property tax because of our presence, and I think it's fair.
I've got one request. Could somebody, just for my sake of counsel, could somebody give me a 2 or 3 sentence explanation as to what this is, just like what you talked about? Probably not you. 2 or 3 sentences. I'm sorry. I just said, that's a good opportunity, and I took it.
We're friends.
But,
Quick study.
but if I could get that, and then if I could get this electronically, and I'll have it put in our packet.
Okay, I send it to Gail.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
I will.
That's good.
Once you approve it, I'll send
Okay,
it to
good.
her.
But if I could just, speak to it, a 2 sentence about just what you talked about.
Absolutely.
About this is, because there's 2 council members on there that are fairly new. And then myself, to be honest, I think I understand it. I go home and sleep, and next year it comes up again, and it's nice to jog my
We'll
memory.
send you the formula, which.
Or just tell me what the formula is.
Oh, no. We want to send it to you.
The formula is pretty complex, but
Yeah.
but
That's what I
it
said.
works a
I may
little
not-
bit.
They
I may
won't
not
send
mention
that
it.
to you.
I may not mention the formula.
I'm gonna give you three sentences.
Okay.
All right. It works a lot like your property tax at your house when you're figuring the tax at your house, except it works on net plant. You know, so we take the gross plant, less the depreciation, get a net plant times 55%, whereas at your house it's 25.
Right.
And then you divide it by 100, and you multiply it times tax rate times the equalization ratio. And you do it for each one of these districts, and then each city gets what theirs calcs out to be, but the counties, Clinton gets 77.5% of that, because we are a part of the city of Clinton. And that's why theirs is the bulk of this. The bulk of this. And there's also a revenue less power cost component in there too. So it's a pretty complex formula, but it kind of relates, kind of like the property tax at your house.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
To me,
So-
the
so
key words are tax equivalent payments.
Right.
It's like a payment in lieu of an official, say, tax bill
Right.
hitting.
Well, that's
like,
what I-
like
that's
we
what I-
did at the house.
that's what I
mean,
thought
to me,
about.
that'd be the easiest way of.
Okay.
So all our poles,
Saying it,
all
but-
our wires, all our substations, this building, the trucks, the wire that's on the trucks, everything goes into this
To
calculation.
that formula.
I don't know of a larger taxpayer in Clinton than CUB is to the city.
Well, why you call it in
If
lieu
it's an
of,
asset, it's taxed.
It's a tax. And
Right.
we're
See,
paying
that's
a
what's
tax.
always in
If it's
lieu
an
of tax,
asset,
that's what's
it's
kind of,
taxed, yeah.
because it
Wouldn't say
is,
in lieu of,
same thing as a
because
tax.
we're-
Exactly.
Well, the
We're paying it.
formula's like in lieu of a quote-unquote
Tax is
formal
just not
tax
labeled.
bill, I guess, is what I would think of.
It's a tax equivalent.
Because, you know, we, like,
Okay.
well, I mean, we're assigning a value, aren't we?
Yes.
Rather than,
No, the Cub is at 55%.
no, what I'm saying is like at our house.
Yes.
We have an assessed value
Yes,
of our house.
that's
We
correct.
pay 25% of it.
25% of
I pay 40% on my commercial building, Jim does on his. But I'm saying, we kind of help to establish a valuation versus the property assessor's office doing it.
Right.
I guess that's what way I
Because
think
it's,
of it.
it's our book, it's our net book cost
Exactly.
for our capital.
Tax on that bottom line figure that the CAC comes out with, and we pay a tax.
On residential.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation, and this, of course, requires board approval also. So we do need a motion and second for the payment in lieu of, or tax equivalent payments to the various entities.
Make a motion to pay tax equivalent for the 6 counties and 4 cities.
Second. We have a second. We've had questions. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign. Let's move on to item number 11, Mr. Fay. That's some requests for some nonprofits.
We have Anderson County Maverick Boys Basketball, or as they start their new season, they're asking for assistance for the uniforms, equipment, transportation of the games, game day, things like that. And what they have designed is an opportunity to support them through advertising with a $300 fee that we can get our name on a 3x3 professional sign, which will be displayed in the gym. So that is advertising for us. It gives us an opportunity to support our local schools and the athletics in that school. We have traditionally done this in the past, and they have an opportunity for something less than that, which is $100, and they have an opportunity for something more than that, which is $500. We have done $300 in the past, and unless you're moved to do something different, it would be my intention to purchase this advertising for $300 with the Anderson County boys basketball.
Do we do one for Clinton as well, or do you know?
We do.
But Oliver Springs.
We do not. I respond to whoever asked, and we haven't received a request from them. I don't need a.
I don't hear anybody offering any objection or anything, so let's just
No,
move on.
good, it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing.
I have for.
Well, then let's move on to item number 12. We're gonna leave it right there with you, Greg, as far as reviewing other business.
All right, sir. Well, I want you to know that we are working with our folks in Eagle Bend Industrial Park. Most specifically, our newest tenant, which is 3M, and the requirements in order to provide them with utility service. And Ernie has worked with them on electric, and we've pretty well got that locked down as to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And Dan has been working with them on water and sewer, and that has been an evolving thing for 3M, which is good. As I told them, we're happy that you're expanding your expectations and forecast of what your needs are going to be. And they have expanded significantly for wastewater, which is in excess of 10 times what they first said that their requirements would be. And we had sufficient capacity, facility in our collection system to where there was no necessary improvements at the time that they looked to come to Clinton. And once they committed, I think that they realized what a great facility and what a great place to do business, and they have now expanded what they plan to do here, and the requirements have increased significantly. So much so that it's going to require us to go into a capital project in order to meet their needs as well as the expansion of Eagle Bend manufacturing. That project is going to take a river crossing, and that river crossing, the way it's now shaping up, is going to be in excess of $2 million, probably about 2.3, and that's still a little bit fluid in our budget number because their numbers have ramped up, and we think we're pretty much at this $2+ million mark. And as we have done in the past, as I have done since I've been manager here, since the late 90s, we don't put the burden of expansion onto our ratepayers. We put it onto the folks that are going to receive the benefit in the development of that. That's part of the reason why we're out of debt. So we now have to cobble together $2+ million in order to put this in the ground. And one would say, well, you're going to receive a benefit from that. And that benefit, the revenue that we're going to receive, will do nothing more than set aside dollars to repair and replace and maintain that, because it's going to take a lot at $2.3 million. So we're now working with the state, and everybody has been, it's a team effort is what I'm trying to say. Tim Thompson has done just a spectacular job, and of course the city has worked really well with us, the county's worked with us, the state has worked with us, certainly 3M and Eagle Bend have worked with us, and Dan has sent back and forth more emails than I could count, more than Hillary Clinton, I would say. So we really appreciate that. At the end of the day, we pretty much got the state so far to commit to $760,000. We're now working with the Federal Economic Grant Fund to the tune of $830,000. And between Eagle Bend and 3M, we're looking at a local match of $750,000. So that's going to get us to our 2.3 million. If the EDA doesn't work out, then I'm going to work with ARC. That's the folks that we work with Isham. So I'm just telling you that we're doing all we can in order to try to get the funds that are gonna be necessary for us to complete this capital project. And it will take a long time for that to happen. It could be as much as 18 months once we pull the trigger on this thing. So that's what we're working on. I've got pretty much 760 confirmed, and we're working on the rest. We've got near commitments on the others.
3M is a world-class company, and I think will be a tremendous asset to.
And they're great to work with. They're very thorough, and I don't know. I just don't know where they've done business in the past. I just don't know how they could communicate with any more of a professional group than we've got between Ernie and Dan. Have just done a great job laying that out for them. They've asked for a ton load of stuff, and they've gotten a ton load in response. Pertinent, accurate, and concise information. So that's made it as smooth as it can possibly be. We are also negotiating with ACWA. They have asked by letter to convey a pumping station. This is our peak station. It's off of East Wolf Valley and 25W, and 4 sewer customers, because it goes into their project as they are building their line. They're going to lay one of their main trunks right through this area, and they would like to use that property that this very small station is on. It say it only serves 4 customers. So I'm trying to work out an appropriate formula for the transfer, because this will set the stage, because I think they're looking for wastewater customers in Claxton, so we're working on that. Once I'm comfortable and we can agree in principle on the formula in order to make this equitably happen between 2 public utilities, then I'll bring that to you for your approval in order to get that done. But I think that's going to be in the very near future, because they are trying to lock down what they're going to need in order to make this trunk line work. The last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is our Christmas lunch, which is December the 8th, and you'll get something in the mail. You should. And that's on a Tuesday. And I think pleasantries, cakes, and catering is going to do that for us this year. Dots, who we have used for years and years and love those folks, they're just not going to do that anymore.
Really?
They're not, no.
And lunches for a long time.
Yeah,
You say December 8th?
December the 8th, which is a Tuesday.
At noon.
At noon, yes, sir. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Fay. Start down at the end, Mr. McBride. Mr. Price?
Nothing.
Val? We're out of here.
Good